Ladies and gentlemen, will the 2023 C8 Corvette E-Ray change the way you feel about owning a C8 Z06? Hello everyone, and welcome back to Brink of Speed. Thank you so much for pressing that play button. I really appreciate you joining me today. I'm super excited to get started talking about the 2023 C8 Corvette E-Ray and its latest news from Motor Trend magazine. But before we get into that, let's get my thumbs up squad doing their thing by smashing that thumbs up button and helping this video get promoted all over YouTube and breaking those algorithms. And if you have not joined this wonderful Brink of Speed community, please consider doing so by smashing that red subscribe button and the bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded. Help me reach my goal in 2021 of hitting 50,000 subscribers. And if you just subscribed, thank you so much. I hugely appreciate it. And for all those new that are watching for the first time today, welcome. All right, let's get into it. So I want to dive into this subject with clarity and first say that I am not convinced by this info that I personally will want an E-Ray over a Z06. But I believe that this info will have people wanting to switch from the Z06 to an E-Ray. The information that I'm speaking about comes from an article that Motor Trend wrote and is now posted on CorvetteBlogger.com. Before I get into the specifics of the E-Ray, I'd first like to talk about the differences between a Z06 buyer and an ERay buyer. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, these are just my opinions, but I think most will agree. All right, let's analyze the Z06 buyer. Number one, most associate the Z06 as second from the top for performance aspects, which has to do with acceleration and cornering ability, and of course, the looks. I remember when the C7 Stingray came out and I saw one for the first time, and I've said this multiple times before, but I didn't think that GM could do any better than that C7 Stingray looked. I couldn't imagine the Z06 looking that much better than the C7 Stingray. But of course, I was dead wrong, and sure enough, it looked phenomenal. It looked so much better in my opinion than that Stingray looked. Number two, these people will pay whatever it costs to have more horsepower than the base Stingray or even a Grand Sport has. And this is always true. People always want the best of the best. Not saying that's a bad thing, because it's not. But a lot of times you're going to hear people say things like, well, the Stingray only has this much horsepower, the Z06 has this much horsepower, so I'm definitely getting the Z06. Number three, some will want the Z06 for the track, and this is true. Even though it's a small percentage of Z06 owners, there are quite a few of them, including myself, that will want to take it to the track. Number four, and this is the last of the reasons, some are just Z06 snobs. Heck, I've even admitted to being this at one point myself. Ladies and gentlemen, you just like what you like, and only a ZR1 would one-up your Z06. So again, these are four pretty good reasons, in my opinion, that someone would buy a Z06 over any other type of Corvette. Now let's try and analyze the ERay buyer. But since this is obviously an alternative model of Corvette that GM is making for the very first time, we will have to break it down differently than, say, a Grand Sport or any other model of Corvette. Just so everyone knows, these aren't facts. They are just my opinion of what I think the typical ERay buyer would be looking for. But this hybrid C8 will definitely attract a new buyer as well. Number one is people who would normally not buy a Z06 and wait for the Grand Sport will most likely wait for this model to arrive. So example, a lot of times there are people who love the Z06 look, love everything about the Z06, but they don't want to spend that extra money. So they wait for the Grand Sport because the Grand Sport looks, feels everything like a Z06 except for it's lacking about 180, 190 horsepower, depending on what model year you're talking about or what generation you're talking about. That kind of sums up number one. Number two, you will have the hybrid crowd buying this car, meaning there will be people who buy this just because it's a hybrid. Obviously not the normal hybrid crowd, but people who are interested in owning a hybrid supercar. And there's a lot of those out there. I'm actually one myself. I would not mind owning something like an NSX, and this is definitely going to compare to the newer NSX. Number 3, the all-wheel drive crowd will buy this, and again, this is just because it is all-wheel drive. People have been waiting and wanting the Corvette to have an all-wheel drive version for a very long time now. And this is going to be it. I think there's going to be more than one all-wheel drive version of the Corvette, but this will be the first. And I think it's going to be really cool. Now, before I move on to number 4, I want to tell you what the Motor Trend article says. They say that the ERay will be quicker, not faster, but quicker than the Z06. Now, what does this mean? Well, I didn't even have to read the article to know what they were referring to. So it will have the LT2 or similar version of the 6.2 liter V8 engine that is in the current Stingray, plus a couple of fully electric motors up front driving the front tires, with 495 to the rear and enough horsepower in the front motors to land the overall horsepower somewhere around 600 to maybe 650 horsepower. This car will definitely be quick from 0 to 60. Not to mention it has all-wheel drive, but it will also carry a lot more weight than the Stingray. With the batteries for the hybrid system, this ERay will probably weigh well over 4,000 pounds. The Stingray already weighs 3,600 pounds. This will hinder the acceleration past 60. So I told you all this to say the ERay will most likely beat the Z06 to 60 miles per hour, but not by too much. Then the Z06 will take it from there and win the quarter mile. This will bring a new buyer to the table, which brings me to number 4. Some Z06 buyers will hold out for the ERay. Here are a few reasons I believe this will come true. So remember how I said further back that Z06 buyers are snobs, they want what they want, they're not gonna settle for even a Grand Sport that looks just like their car because they want the extra horsepower. I think the ERay is gonna change some of those people's minds. So the ERay will have higher torque for that slam you back in your seat feeling. It will be faster from 0 to 60. It will have that same V8 roar of the Stingray, which is something that I know a lot of people are going to want. They're going to hear the Z06 with that flat plane crank, naturally aspirated, high revving engine, and they're probably going to think they would rather hear the deep roar of the Stingray. It's going to have all-wheel drive, it has the hybrid technology, and it will be less expensive than the Z06. Plus, it will have the same looks as the Z06, just like the Grand Sport. It's going to have a wide body, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, but be sure and let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. And ladies and gentlemen, these are the reasons that explain why this ERay will definitely change the way you feel about owning the new 2022 C8 Z06 Corvette. I mean, like I said, I'm not planning to switch from the Z06 to the ERay, but I am super excited about GM making this hybrid Corvette. This is going to be direct competition for the Acura NSX. And let me tell you, I've driven the NSX a few times now, and it is nothing short of an amazing supercar. So what is that going to make this ERay? Well, an amazing supercar in my opinion. So ladies and gentlemen, that's really going to do it. Again, leave me comments down below letting me know what you think about this ERay. Let me know if you plan on skipping the Z06 and getting the ERay instead, and reasons why that you would skip the Z06 for the ERay. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a big thumbs up. Also, please consider joining the wonderful Brink of Speed community by smashing that red subscribe button and the bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded. I hope each and every one of you has a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you out on the road.